welcome. This is the Market Trap. I am Agam Vakil, and it's been a very quiet day of trade, indicated by the turnovers in the broader markets and also indicated by the way we're seeing things pan out for the benchmark indices. Starting off with the Nifty as flat and closing at levels where we saw Friday, leaving at around 10,806. What's really moved in the markets, and we really haven't seen too much, NTPC advancing by 2.2%, followed by BPCL, Dena Bank and Dr. Reddy's among the pharma names which had been trending higher through the course of the day but eventually gave up the gains. On the losing end, however, Titan extends its losing streak down as much as 3.5%, Z Entertainment as well, and Tata Motors and Mahindra from the auto space also showing some amount of weakness. And while the benchmarks remained flat, there was deeper cuts coming in as far as the broader markets go. So the Nifty 500 did see a decline. In fact, one gainer for two losers in today's day of trade, and the momentum was also with the losers. So let's take a look at some of the big decliners here. We have PTC India Financial down 14%, Reliance Naval, PC Jeweler extending losses as well coming out of the F&O ban. Tata Global Beverages were reacting to its earnings, down 11%. Rain Industries also extending its losses by another 9% after a decline of nearly 15% last Friday. On the gaining end, we did have Sun TV with some momentum up to 10.5%, Parag Milk Foods up 9%, and well, Phoenix Mills along with Praj Industries advancing by around 5.5–6%. However, when it comes to the market breadth, well, that remains negative. Let's get an idea and a perspective about what the markets are telling us before the results of the Karnataka election. We have Neeraj once again joining us. Neeraj, hi. How are you reading the moves? A quiet day of trade otherwise.
Yeah, but the broader market weakness tells us a story, doesn't it, Agam? I was just looking at the numbers today, and the mid caps and the small caps have corrected almost 5% in this month. This month from the highs, May highs, the mid cap and the small cap indices are down 5%. That's not mean feat when you consider that the Nifty is trading at 10,800, which is, in a manner of speaking, almost at the highest levels in the recent past. So that tells you a story, the dichotomy between the large caps and the mid caps, and a meaningful dichotomy at that. One. Two, the last 2 days, Agam, I think the volumes have been very flat too. Today, I think the F&O volumes went up about the 4 lakh crore mark, but I would reckon that that would be in part due to option buying that people would have done in order to hedge themselves. You would be a better judge out here. Right. So maybe that has happened, and I'm sure you would have some thoughts here, but I would reckon that that would have been the case. I think early trends start coming in at about 9:15, maybe 9:30. So I don't think traders have too much time. Today was the best time to take those hedges. So until then, all bets off. I mean, the traders that came on air today as well in the afternoon were all saying that we don't want to really take some deep bets going into tomorrow. Let tomorrow pass. It's okay to not trade for 3 hours as opposed to taking a trade, and what if the unknown happens and you lose out on money? So yeah, play cool. Wait for the first couple of hours of trade tomorrow. Well,
that seems to be a good idea, to not take any positions right now. No, I agree with you, Neeraj. Just exactly what we're seeing. And I was surprised to see that surge in the last 1 hour of trade when it comes to turnovers. But it's likely that some speculators out there still taking positions on the Karnataka elections. Thanks, Neeraj, for bringing us that perspective. But that said, what levels can we keep an eye on when it comes to the benchmark indices? This is what our technical analysts are telling us. Listen in.
Last week was one horse race, Bank Nifty, which is still fine. Nifty has overcome 10,783, which is also fine. Event risk, I know it's a state election and blah blah blah, but the VIX has creeped up, so I don't think one can buy a straddle, so stay up.
Looking at the chart, it seems that the upside move should continue, and on the higher side we can see levels of around 10,900 as an immediate target. Once the Nifty is able to break 10,900, then we will see extended rally. Overall, till the time 10,700 is not taken away on downside, for a trading perspective, one should initiate long positions at the current market price. If there is a small dip of correction from present levels of around 20 to 40 points, then that should be used as a buying opportunity, with the stop loss to be placed at 10,700 levels on lower side for the upside target of 10,880 and 10,900 levels in next 1 or 2 days. At the same time, Bank Nifty is also looking strong. I think one can initiate long positions in Bank Nifty at 26,400, 450 levels, with the stop loss to be placed at 26,100 levels on lower side for the upside target of 26,800, 26,900 levels.
Well, talking about the laggards in the mid-cap space, let's talk about Dena Bank. The stock started and began with deeper cuts. Eventually, well, caught up with some of its losses, but still closed the day in the red by as much as 5%. We have Shraddha Babla joining us to give us an idea about what's really going on out here, Shraddha.
So, Agam, the RBI has placed fresh restrictions on Dena Bank with respect to fresh lending or even hiring. Remember, the bank is already under RBI's PCA framework or Prompt Corrective Action Framework since May 2017. What we believe could have happened is that Dena Bank has been moved from the risk threshold 1 to risk threshold 2. This is probably what has happened, and that's the additional development over here. Now, RBI in the new PCA guidelines last year had introduced this 3 risk thresholds based on 3 parameters. That is whether it is the non-performing assets, capital adequacy ratio, or return on assets. Now, return on assets for Dena Bank is negative given that it posted a net loss for the quarter. In terms of capital adequacy, with a capital adequacy ratio in excess of 11%, it still remains above the minimum regulatory requirement. So that probably is not the reason. But its net NPA ratio in the fourth quarter went close to that 12% mark. It was at 11.95%, and 12% is when it qualifies for risk threshold 2. So that's probably something that has taken shares of Dena Bank to a 15-year low now. In fact, and it's not just Dena Bank, given the way some of these PSU banks have reported losses and some more which are expected yet to report numbers and are expected to report sizable losses. We will really have to wait and watch if or not there are more banks which will fall under this PCA framework. 11 out of 21 banks already are, or if they move into the higher risk thresholds of the RBI. And additionally, you also saw Allahabad shares drop as much as 3 to 4%, and this is after the Department of Financial Services Secretary Rajiv Kumar said that disciplinary action was initiated for the removal of 2 PNB EDs and the current CEO of Allahabad Bank. In fact, the PNB board has decided also to replace EDs which were named in the CBI charge sheet in the Nirav Modi case. So all of that weighing on some of these PSU banks.
Well, concerns continue to emerge from the public sector banking space. Thanks, Shraddha, for bringing us those details. But there's yet another stock which had a very, very large cut seen when it comes to the stock price, and that's Tata Global Beverages. I want you to take a look at how Tata Global Beverages has panned out over the last 6 months. Now, as you can see here, from November last year, since then we've seen a growth of for the share price moving above the levels of around 320, and the stock has eventually corrected quite substantially. This was the period in which you had a number of high net worth individuals vouch for the stock, expecting a turnaround in Tata Global Beverages, but it has since fallen, and now it is currently trading at 255. This is after seeing weak numbers, weak earnings come in for Tata Global Beverages, where its margins have fallen and gone back to below the mark of 9%. The only reason why we've seen an increase in its profitability is because of an exceptional loss in the base quarter. That's it. Well, it's been a challenging quarter for Tata Global Beverages, and that's the reason why you're looking at a cut of as much as 10%. And there's yet another very interesting move that we've seen in a sector as a whole, and that's the pharma sector. Earlier in the day, we did see good gains coming in Sun Pharma, Lupin, Cipla, and this is all on account of the commentary coming in from President Donald Trump in the US. And the positive was more about the fact that we didn't have any news in the pharmaceutical sector, and that's the reason why we did see some gains in the likes of Dr. Reddy's and Cipla. Sun Pharma eventually closing near day's lows, but it was up as much as 1.5–2%. Of course, on the losing end, we continue to see weakness in Glenmark Pharma and Divi's Laboratories, but it was these pharma stocks that advanced in trade and to a certain extent kept the indices buoyant. But with that, it's a wrap on, well, today's markets action. But don't go anywhere, lots more lined up, so stay tuned in the Bloomberg Quint and we'll keep bringing you more.